Yeah, so these CBAs include identical game payments, identical revenue sharing, and identical prize money. So it's pooling and sharing of the prize money. These are, it's truly a historic moment for U.S. soccer, for soccer in general. So for the first time ever, U.S. soccer has brought both the Women's Players Association, the Men's Players Association together to negotiate. We do have two separate contracts because there are a few differences that the women wanted and the men wanted. So, but they include identical game payments, pooling and sharing of all prize money, including World Cup prize money. We're the first country to ever do that. And revenue sharing that will be the same for both teams. You know, I am so proud of what we have been able to achieve, bringing both the men's and women's players associations together for the first time with U.S. Soccer to negotiate this deal. And I think this deal is going to have ramifications throughout the entire world. You know, it's game-changing moment here in the U.S., but it has the potential to change how international soccer and international sport do business. With the equalization of prize money for our men's and women's World Cup, I think it's just going to be a historic moment, and hopefully it will create change throughout the world. So what other countries have done is they will give equal percentages of their World Cup prize money to the players. So the women, whatever the women's team wins, they would get a certain percentage, and whatever the men's team won in their World Cup, they would get that same percentage. What we are doing is we're pooling all of the World Cup prize money together and then sharing it evenly among our men and our women's team. This is truly a historic moment in soccer and in sport in general. And I really wanted to lead on this, and US Soccer really wanted to lead on this to bring both players' associations together with US Soccer to try to solve this complex problem of equalizing World Cup prize money between the men's World Cup and the women's World Cup. And so being able to bring them together and sit down and talk and hammer out what was important to all three parties and to come to an agreement, I think really is a game changer for international sport. We have two different CBAs for our men's and our women's team, but for all economic terms, they are absolutely identical. And all for all material things, they are identical. There are some differences. The women wanted in their contracts that the men did not want. So things like maternity benefits and 401k and things like that. But for everything else, game payments, prize money, revenue share, everything is identical. The men deserve a ton of credit. You know, I said months before we actually got them in the room together that this deal would not get done without the men's players and the Men's Players Association coming together and working with the women's PA, the women's players, and US Soccer. And they have absolutely done that. And I think this deal just shows what we can really achieve if we all work together. The commercial and revenue sharing just increase the opportunities for collaboration with our women's players and our men's players to help grow the game and reinvest that extra money back into the game so that we can make sure that every kid that wants to play soccer has not only the access to play our game, but has the equal opportunity to succeed in our game as well. The next 6 years are critically important for U.S. soccer, and it's really an exciting time to be engaged in soccer in this country. The demand for soccer is at an all-time high, and we're leading into the 22 Men's World Cup this winter, followed closely by the Women's World Cup next summer, and then we have the 24 Olympics, and then in 26 we're hosting the Men's World Cup here in the U.S. as well as in Canada and Mexico, and then followed closely by that the 27 and 31 Women's World Cup, of which we will bid on one of them. So it's a really exciting time, and to have not only labor peace, but collaboration with our players associations and our players, and to reset that relationship, I think is critically important for us to be able to grow the game. So there are a lot of steps that need to happen before the settlement is completely agreed to. So we'll outline that process in a later time. But when we did the settlement of the women's litigation, we made ratification of the CBAs a part of that settlement. And so now that we're getting to that point, this was just a really important step for the future of soccer in this country. So not only to ratify the CBAs, but also looking back to the full settlement of the women's national team litigation.